We live in an age where you literally have a primetime television network in your pocket, that cell phone. And if you know how to use it properly, at the push of a button, you can reach millions of people with your message, with your new procedures, with the trends that are happening in the industry, and with information that those patients really need. And so for me, a lot of people are scared about social media, but it's a tool like anything else. And the tool can be used for good, or it can be used to do stupid dances and pranks, right? And so I think it's really about intention. And used correctly, you can really make a massive impact, and you can impact millions of people at scale. And social media is really the best way to do that.
Welcome to Inside Aesthetics, the world's most listened to podcast for injectors and aesthetic businesses. I'm Dr. Jake Sloan, a facial aesthetic doctor, trainer and speaker with over 17 years experience.
And I'm David Siegel, an aesthetic entrepreneur and business mentor who's been working within our industry for over 2 decades. IA is a podcast aimed at educating aesthetic practitioners from around the world. The information contained within our episodes is general in nature and should not be used by the general public to make health or treatment decisions. You should seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional in your country and have a bespoke consultation.
For our latest news, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and now you can also watch our full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. All of our links are down in the show notes below. Now let's get into today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to Inside Aesthetics, the world's most listened to podcast for cosmetic injectors and aesthetic businesses. Just another reminder, if you missed our news in the last fortnight, our podcasts are now published as videos to enjoy on Spotify and YouTube. So if you want to see David and I, instead of only listening, check us out on these platforms.
Another change that we're going to be working towards is to make our episodes more concise. We never really planned for these episodes to be 60 to 90 minutes long, and we've realized we're probably asking too much of you to sit there for an hour and a half and listen to us talk. So we're going to be trying to keep them to, 50 to 60 minutes, which means you can get through them in a single sitting and not feel like you're missing out. And now let's get into today's episode. It's all about social media. We're joined by Jon Jacques, who is all the way from Los Angeles in the United States. And Jon and I met recently at the BTS, the Beauty Through Science conference over in Stockholm, Sweden. I watched his presentation. Jake, I think he's probably one of the most polished presenters that I've ever seen. Super impressed. Super nice guy. We got to catch up at the gala dinner afterwards, have a couple of drinks. Well, I had soda water. I'm not sure what Jon was drinking.
Soda water as well.
Soda water as well. And turns out Jon used to be a professional magician for many years of his life. So that's kind of why he's such a polished presenter. So it was a real pleasure to watch him talk. And his talk was all about going viral. So how to use social media in 2025 to capture the attention of your audience, to grow your audience, and how to do it in a way that's not, people are sort of screaming out for attention. You see people doing dances and all kinds of things to get attention. And what Jon made clear to me in that presentation was there's a much better way to do it. There's a strategy involved, and we're going to unpack that today.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to do this, Jon. And why don't you introduce yourself? That's probably the easiest way of starting.
Sure. Jon Jacques. I live in Los Angeles now, and I've had a pretty incredible journey as an entrepreneur and business owner. As you heard, I started as a professional magician. At age 10, I turned professional. By 12, I was doing 250 shows a year internationally. So it's just a really great way to connect with people, and always used it as a tool to inspire and present. So that was really cool. But after college, my buddy and I started a video advertising startup. We basically invented YouTube ads before YouTube ads existed. We scaled the company from nothing to a $200 million valuation in about 2 years. The company's now acquired. And through that experience, I was able to understand advertising, virality, social media at a level that most people never get to experience, because my clients were like Disney, Sony, Anheuser-Busch, Bose, AT&T, and they're coming to us with sometimes $1 million budget to promote one video. And so I'm looking at data and understanding trends, and I'm able to see these metrics and what's working on probably the biggest scale that you possibly can. And through that, I said, you know what, let me build my own personal brand. And sure enough, I went from nothing to over 1 million followers in about 10 months. And naturally, was just asked to teach others how to do it. And we've seen a lot of really incredible success stories and results and case studies in the aesthetic space. And it's become our biggest vertical at this point and something that we're really passionate about.
Can I ask, what year did you start playing around with YouTube, and were you self-taught, or did you, learn this at university, that skill?
Yeah, no, definitely not at university, but really through the advertising world. That first job out of college, that would have been in 2013, and literally on the ground floor of YouTube. YouTube was, really starting to boom. Your first influencers were starting to emerge. And then we, of course, were running a bunch of campaigns to make these YouTube videos go viral before there was an ad platform or anything like that. So yeah, really taught through experience.
How did you become involved in the aesthetic space? You mentioned some other brands that you're working with. Our industry is quite weird and nuanced, so interested to know how you actually got involved.
It's funny. Dr. Sheila Nazarian, obviously a massive name in the space, has her own Netflix show. She had me speak at her conference about 6 or 7 years ago. And that was really my first foray and my first experience in the aesthetic market. And from that, I met some really big players in the space. Naturally, it started to explode. I think there's a lot of demand for social media in aesthetics, because if you think about it, the industry is all about image, the image that you're providing for your clients, the image that you're presenting to your patients. It's really about image. And at the end of the day, the follower count that you have next to your handle matters, and your patients are doing the research. And if they don't see a large following, you sort of lose credibility. And so naturally, when I gave that first presentation, I had, I think, 3 more speaking opportunities at the aesthetic show and Vegas Cosmetic Surgery after that. And a bunch of doctors and plastic surgeons kind of supported me, really saw something in me and helped me out in the beginning. And I wouldn't be here without them. So special thanks to Dr. Nazarian, Dr. Shino Bay, Dr. Steve and Diane. Without them, this journey wouldn't have been possible.
Cool. Now, I've got a weird question. How would you define what social media is, and why do we need it?
Well, for me, social media is the ability to reach millions of people at the push of a button. And I think a lot of people take that for granted. We live in an age where you literally have a primetime television network in your pocket, that cell phone. And if you know how to use it properly, at the push of a button, you can reach millions of people with your message, with your new procedures, with the trends that are happening in the industry, and with information that those patients really need. And so for me, a lot of people are scared about social media, but it's a tool like anything else. And the tool can be used for good, or it can be used to do stupid dances and pranks, right? And so I think it's really about intention, and used correctly, you can really make a massive impact, and you can impact millions of people at scale. And social media is really the best way to do that.
Do you think there's any particular channels or social media channels that we should be focusing on in this conversation, or is this just going to be a broad, talk about everything available to us?
Well, I'll say this. I specialize in Facebook and Instagram. For us, that's where the client demand has been. That's where they're posting all the before and after pictures and the testimonials and the procedures and the behind the scenes. TikTok obviously is growing, and it used to be a very young demographic, but we do see a lot of plastic surgeons and doctors and aesthetic practitioners moving towards TikTok. But really the demand has been on Facebook and Instagram, and that's where people are getting the most bang for their buck anyway. So that's where we focus.
Yeah. One of the challenges that I hear a lot from people within our community and people that I work with from a business mentoring perspective is, I don't know what to post. I don't have one of these super outgoing personalities. I don't have time. How do I actually, fit this into my schedule, and, what's trending at the moment? So what's your advice around those sorts of challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially in this industry, your passion is helping people, right? It is being that doctor, that plastic surgeon. And you probably didn't expect when you were going through med school that you now have to start being a personality on the internet. I mean, it just wasn't a thing. So it's very natural for people to feel a bit of confusion. And what we do, I think, a very good job at is helping people simplify this whole process and cut to the chase and focus on what's really going to move the needle. And so, advice for the person who's wondering what to post. Well, I will tell you this, a lot of people overcomplicate it, and they think that every video has to be a spectacle. And first thing they do, they go out and they buy the 4K cameras. And believe me, I've made the same mistake, spent like 20, 30 grand on all these lights and cameras and equipment. And it's just not about that. It's really about the message. And so what we do is we help clients really simplify this so that they're using their cell phone to shoot all the content. They're using a $25 tripod off of Amazon. They can take it anywhere when they're traveling. If you're going to an aesthetic meeting or you're going to speak somewhere or you're going to, spend some time with your family, if you even want to showcase that part of your life, we try to make it easy. I can give you a simple framework that would really help to cut to the chase and shortcut the process. I call it the 60-second authority interview reel. You've seen a lot of videos just like these clips all over the internet. If you scroll through your feed where you see these podcast clips nowadays, and I mean, sometimes scrolling, I'll see 3, 4, 5 of them in one go. The podcast clips just resonate with people and they work. And here's why. These videos go viral because of the fact that even if a person doesn't know you yet, they see you in front of a camera being interviewed and they assume that you're a celebrity. You must be someone important. So that works really well. The other thing is with a podcast clip, a natural hook is created because that viewer is scrolling and all of a sudden they're entered right in the middle of a conversation. And so naturally the human mind is trying to figure out what is being said and what is being talked about in this clip. So it allows people to follow along and they want to figure out what's happening. So the view through rates tend to increase, which signals to the algorithm that this is a good piece of content. So one simple strategy that we've been seeing a lot of success with for our clients is to literally, if you're not going to go on a podcast and you're not going to be interviewed, to film your content as if you are. And you see a lot of influencers doing this because I know a lot of big name influencers and I know that they're not always on a podcast. They just use that microphone as a prop to film their content because they know that that format resonates with people. So what I tell our clients, think about all of the frequently asked questions you're getting from your patients, about this procedure, or that procedure, or how do I choose the right doctor? How do I, know that this is not going to give me an unnatural look? Write down all those questions, 30 questions, and then literally hand those questions to your assistant, your office manager, your child, and have them ask you them one by one. And you keep your answers tight. You answer in about 60 to 90 seconds. You go down the list. We've literally had clients like Dr. Greg Chernoff is a great example of this. He has 3 practices, triple board certified plastic surgeon, very busy guy. He went through this process. He created 60 reels in like one sitting, just doing it that way. And it just takes all the pressure off because when you're talking to someone you love or you trust, you're going to speak from the heart. Therefore, you're going to be much better off than the person who's writing these complicated scripts and you're trying to memorize everything. You're just sharing your knowledge and sharing your expertise. And so it makes the content a lot better because that's a format that actually works. People have gained millions of views and millions of followers just off of these podcast clips. On top of that, it's probably the easiest content you can make right now because there's no prep. You just write down the questions and then give the answer in a bite-sized 30, 60, 90 seconds. And as a result, you're able to scale this content creation process without feeling like every day you're stressing about what to post.
That's really good advice. We had a previous podcast with a digital marketer, Rick O'Neill. Shout out to Rick. He said there's a website called Ask the Public, and you can ask questions that the public are typing into Google. So then you know what questions to answer, and then you can use your trick to answer those questions.
Yeah. So, for example, you would type in, tell me the questions that are being asked about Botox, and it'll come up with a whole list of the different things that people are asking based on the popularity
In
of
your
it.
area.
In
as
your
well.
area. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, I guess, that's not that we'll get to at some point, John, is, making sure going viral is one thing, but going viral with the right people that are actually going to become your patients or your customers is kind of another thing as well, because people kind of just want the numbers without actually going, well, how does this convert to dollars in my bank account, or how's this going to get more people in my clinic?
Yeah. No point having 1 million followers in Latvia if you're in Sydney, for example. Actually, can you comment on that? Like it used to be the case that everyone was buying followers, and you'd get all these apps sort of targeting you to buy followers. That seems to have gone away. I don't really see it much anymore. Can you comment on that? Have Instagram sort of cleared it up or managed to stop it now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's gone away because the algorithm has matured over the years and it's caught on to that. So those strategies really hurt your accounts long term. And we have a lot of people who come to us because they're freaked out. They're like, oh, John, I did this thing 3 years ago and I wish I didn't. And now we have to correct it. But long story short, what's happening is every time you release a piece of content, you post something new, a portion of your audience is going to be exposed to that piece of content. And so what happens is if you have a bunch of bots on your account, let's say the first sample size, we're showing it to 1,000 accounts. Well, if all of those accounts are fake, there's no engagement. And then if there's no engagement, it signals to the algorithm that your content is terrible. And their goal is to make money by capturing attention and keeping people on the platform so they can serve more ads. So therefore, if you have those fake followers, they're taking it as this content is not worth sharing. There's been no engagement, and it really, your account, your engagement starts to suffer over time.
How if people wanted to go back and go through all of their existing followers and, delete all the ones that look fake or robots? How do they actually do that?
So there is actually a new feature for Instagram specifically in your backend settings where you can delete the inactive accounts. So that's a button that you can push, but you have to be prepared with a plan and a strategy in place when you push that button, because for some people, they push that button and 100,000 followers are wiped out in a split second. So they need a plan to rebuild that in an authentic way over time.
I've actually always been a fan of that, and I make a big song and dance of saying to people, there's a purge today. I don't care if I lose 5,000 followers. I don't need bots. And I kind of make it a bit of a joke, but also to appear authentic. So
we spoke at the beginning of the discussion around, people dancing, doing kind of things that are not really relevant to their profession. What do you think about that? I mean, I don't want to be critical of these people because I know it's coming from a place of, hey, I want people to know what I do. This is what everyone's doing. What are your thoughts on that? And do you sort of have any advice for people that have maybe gone down that path and how to sort of redirect, the strategy? I know you spoke about before about answering questions, but just on this, I guess, screaming for attention and what it does to people's reputation potentially.
Well, first of all, I think if you have the right strategies in place for social media and you understand what you're doing, you know that you don't need to take those shortcuts or kind of come off as a clown or damage your brand or do something that's off brand in order to succeed. Because a lot of people find that they'll make the goofy TikTok dance or the prank and it still doesn't go viral. So now you sacrifice your reputation for nothing. If you know what you're doing and you really understand social media, you can take any piece of content and get 1 million views and get it out to people. So we never force clients into anything like that. That's never advice that comes out of my mouth. Follow the trends, do the dance, do the pranks, because it's just not necessary, quite frankly. And I'd much rather see you sharing your expertise, helping patients, helping educate them on the process or what's hot right now in the market, because it's better for you, it's better for them, and that's actually what you're focused on. So you don't need to sell yourself short.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying we've got audiences all over the world, big population in America who listen, but also here in Australia, obviously. And our regulations here has obviously changed quite a lot. I don't know if you've heard about sort of some of the latest stuff, but probably worth saying whatever you're going to put out, you've got to be compliant with your local regulations. And, here in Australia, it's quite different to what you can do in America. So, thinking about your content, just think of the law first and then, go from there.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I mean, you said focusing on education and your expertise. So you're not sort of, showboating your results, making promises that are unrealistic. You just basically, as you said, answering the questions that you commonly see, in your consultation process or with your patients. And that's what people really want to know. They just want knowledge. They want to know that they can trust you. That's the other big thing as well, right? Is trust. And so have you got any other strategies for building trust other than just sharing your knowledge in terms of, little tricks or the way that they frame things?
In terms of building trust, really, to me, the formula for trust is repetition and frequency. The more top of mind you are, the more content you're putting out there, the more exposure you're gaining in front of a particular audience, the more they're going to trust you over time. Because the beauty of social media is people feel like they know you. They have this insight into your life and your practice and what's happening. So you start to become like a friend or a family member to them. And that's what's so powerful about social media. I think we all see these influencers and celebrities and you kind of feel like they're your friend. So really doing more of it and staying top of mind, it allows you to really tap into your patients at will, where you don't have to write a complicated email to send out to the patient database, and you don't have to do anything special. You're just putting out this content and you're always present. You're always top of mind. So I always like to consider, we would call it a client avatar or a patient avatar. Like, consider who you're serving. Who are your patients? Are they predominantly male or female? Are they 40, plus? Or are they 20 to 30 years old? And then shape your content around the questions that they have, the answers that they need, the desires, the procedures they're asking about, the results that they're hoping for. And when you kind of deliver that on a platter and you're giving them what they need, it's hard not to be successful with that.
I'm sure you'd agree with this, but the other thing I would add to that is be as authentic as possible. So don't try and cater to everyone. Like you said, work out who you're talking to. And it's okay to not be perfect. Just admit, when things don't go right, or showcase what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe sort of take the piss out of yourself sometimes. Like, just be real. And then I think people gravitate to that as being, okay, well, he's not trying to be perfect. That's just who he is. And you kind of find your tribe that way. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think not only that, if you have DR period in front of your name, people naturally put you on a pedestal. So when you show that you're real and that you're a normal person, there's a connection and a bond that's formed that's unlike anything else. And consumers, viewers, users on social media have gotten savvy over time. They can really see through the BS and they crave authenticity. And that's another reason for using your cell phone and a simple tripod selfie, tripod. And, that's it, because it's the real deal. It's not super polished. I've seen a lot of people spend $15,000 on a video production company and the content performs terribly because it's too overdone, it's too fake, it's too stiff, and it just doesn't work for social media.
Something that you touched on in your last answer was, people getting to know you and wanting to feel a connection. And so my question to that is, how much of your personal life do you recommend people sharing? Like, what they're eating for breakfast, when they're going on holidays, what their kids are doing. I mean, where do you draw the line between, being professional, catering to what your patients/customers want to know from an educational perspective versus, sharing your personal life? Because I kind of can't find that balance either, personally.
Quite frankly, the answer is you don't have to share any of it. You don't have to share your personal life at all. There's a way to really build a following and to position yourself as the go-to practitioner without giving up your privacy whatsoever. I will say this, based on everything I've seen in the industry, you look at Dr. Paul Nassif and some of the bigger influencers in the space, Some of their most successful posts happen to be the personal ones, funny enough. It's just the way it works. So if you are willing to do that, we've seen that the content tends to go more viral, but you don't have to. And I would say probably 80-20 rule, maybe 20% personal, showing the behind the scenes, 80% what your audience really craves and what they're looking for.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Nassif, who is
Yeah.
our special episode 100, episode 100. Yeah.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. I'm sure he's not listening, but if he is, I hope you're well. No, I was just going to comment on that one. I mean, I definitely don't do it deliberately, but, I showcase what's going on in my life sometimes, or even our travels, or, maybe Father's Day stuff. It's not kind of to ram it down people's throat that I'm trying to be, Mr. Happy Clappy, but I think people like to know, who is this guy? Like, what does he do? Does he just inject all day, or, whatever? I think it's just nice to show you're a rounded person. You've got a life. It doesn't need to be every post, of course, but I think people quite like that. But if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, especially in this industry, people buy you, and people do business with friends and family as a general rule. So when you're positioned as the only logical choice, as the expert, you have the credibility, you have the numbers, the accolades behind your name, and you're also a real person who cares and who's going to take care of them. That's what they're craving.
Something that I think people struggle with, maybe they haven't voiced it, is that, you've worked with big people. Now you've worked with Chris Hemsworth and other famous people in big companies, but most people aren't famous, including most of our listeners. So they often would say or voice, I'm not famous. I've kind of missed the boat. It's too late for me now. But what do you say to that?
Well, we've proven it time and time again, and we're about to prove it on this podcast with our special surprise that we'll announce. But I'll tell you this, all the strategies that we're using, they're working now. They're working currently. We just had Dr. Steve Diane just launched a new skincare line, and he took brand new social media accounts a couple months ago. We launched one video, one reel. He got over 7 million views, 7 million on an account that had 0. And this was out of the gate, ended up with about 8,000 plus followers just from that one reel. And that was like a couple months ago with a brand new page starting from scratch. So when you understand the strategies, it's absolutely not too late. In fact, I would really, hopefully that this is your wake up call. If you've been sitting on the sidelines and you've kind of seen the competition do this, and you've been too busy and dragging your feet on it, or maybe a little nervous to turn on that camera and speak, I hope that this inspires you to go out there and do it, because I believe that everyone listening to this and everyone in the world has a gift inside of them, and one that's unique. And I think that if you don't share it, if you don't get that message out there, you're doing a disservice to the people who need it. There are patients out there that don't have the confidence and don't feel comfortable in their own skin. And every time they look in the mirror, they feel this shame, and that person needs help. So if you're not willing to turn on the camera and help them out, you're wasting your gift. And so I hope that this allows you to feel inspired to go out there and bite the bullet, because it's not easy. It does take work. It is scary. You're going to mess up and have to restart that camera. But at the end of the day, if your why is strong enough, you'll get through how to do it.
Yeah. Let's ask you. You've not been the hugest fan of social media in your time doing the podcast, but I mean, that's fine. But how have you got more comfortable? I'm assuming being on camera doing a podcast has helped.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've done this 300 and something times now. So, I mean, I think, as you said, if you do something often enough, you just inherently
exposure therapy,
become better at it. I mean, yeah, I've got the love-hate relationship with social media. So for me, it's I don't want to give away things about my personal life. I don't want people to know where I'm traveling to or where I'm going, or things about my family. So I like to keep that quite private, but I am becoming more, I guess, coming around to your way of thinking that you do need to put yourself out there. But as John said, you can curate that. You can decide how much you want to give away and how much you don't. At the end of the day, I guess it depends on, what is it you're hoping to get, in return for what you're putting out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I don't enjoy it at all. I reckon I'm an introvert and an extrovert. I can enjoy being around people in our industry where I can share something. But if I go to a wedding and I don't know anyone, I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm not that Mr. Gregarious sort of center of the crowd. That's not me. So going on camera, talking to, like John said, billions of people, and you don't really know how it's landing, that's kind of weird. It is a weird skill. And you've kind of got to just back yourself, like you said, John, that, if I don't do this, I'm missing out on free advertising. That's how I see it anyway. But yeah, any tips to make people kind of just, get up and try it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people put too much pressure in the early stages of this journey. If you're just starting the journey, it's like every little detail matters. You want to make sure your makeup's perfect, your hair's perfect. You stumbled on one word, that video is suddenly unusable. But you got to understand, no one's watching in the early days. So that's actually the time to go out and test things and try the authentic video and try one sitting by the pool and see how that works. So that's the time to play around and have fun. And just know that you press record, well, it doesn't mean you have to post it. There's a little delete button right there too. So you can always just scrap it and start over. But one thing that I would say really helps our clients get in a rhythm is a lesson that I learned from Jay Shetty, obviously a massive motivational influencer, #1 health podcast in the world. And when I worked with Jay Shetty, we were scheduled to do a collaboration together, and we were supposed to film a couple videos. Well, I thought we were going to film like one day, and then we're going to meet up again the second day to film the next video. And Jay's like, no, John, we're just going to meet at the park, and we're going to get them both done at once. And I didn't film my content like that. And I think a lot of people struggle with social media because they're filming their content in real time. They're making the mistake I was making, where you film one video, you post it, and then the next day you have to wake up and figure out what to film again. You're always in this cycle of playing catch up, and it starts to take over your life. So if you've been feeling like social media is a full-time job, I would do what Jay Shetty taught me. It's called batching content. What happens is you don't just film one video at a time. You start to film 30 videos in one sitting or one day, and you pick a day where you feel good. You feel energized. You feel well rested. You feel excited. And as a result, you're going to start to get in this rhythm where the first video, okay, you might have to delete that one a couple times. But then by video 20 or 30, you're just blasting out the content. And so that's a great way. Batching content, #1, makes you more comfortable. It gets you into this rhythm. Pretty soon, you're like Henry Ford's factory. It's like an assembly line, right? It's like, okay, you're filming all the content now. Well, guess what? Now that content goes to the editors. So we help people in our programs get their own in-house editor or part-time editor to chop up all their content. Now you have a month, 2 months, 3 months worth of content all stockpiled and ready to go. And then you start posting. So it takes so much pressure off doing things that way. It's so huge when we show clients this for the first time because they're constantly starting and stopping. And it's a lot of frustration and it's this grueling cycle. Versus if you look at any big influencer, any big time celebrity, what you don't know is most of their content is planned 3 to 4 months in advance. The posts you're seeing on their feed today were posts that were filmed months ago, and they're always ahead of the game. You know, they're able to put the phone down for 2, 3, 4 months at a time, and their social media content is still pouring out as if they never went anywhere because they have the right systems in place and the right strategies to do that. So batching content is a great one, and it also helps with that confidence on camera as well.
That's something we've just
That
woken up
really
to.
resonated with me.
Yeah, we're recording with you today. We recorded some stuff before you came on. We're going to do some stuff afterwards. We dedicate a day to it. Jake and I will sit down and do some bonus content for our Patreon community, and we'll sit there and talk about half a dozen topics in one go. And then, as you said, we'll break them up because we've worked out, we're busy outside of the podcast as well. So we're learning too.
Yeah, I mean, because it's an hour sort of ish podcast and guests are different time zones, sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
But, for your social media stuff, like 1 minute videos, I reckon you could pump out 30 if you really wanted to. So, yeah, really good advice.
Yeah. So how often should people actually be posting? And I know that they can set things up within the platforms to schedule when things come out. But that's a question I get often asked is, well, is it once a week? Is it once a day? Is it twice a day? Is there a particular time of the day that's better? What do you think?
It's entirely audience dependent, really. A lot of people, you might be scrolling through your feed and someone has a magic number for it. At the end of the day, that's not the secret, and it's going to be different for your audience than it is someone else's audience. We like to start clients off at 3 posts per week and scale up from there. That's a number that's manageable, where you're actually going to get growth. You're going to gain more followers. Your engagement's going to increase over time, but you're not stressing yourself out. Keep in mind, I've also seen accounts where we've posted twice a day consistently for 60, 90 days. And then we actually scaled back to 3 times a week, and the results were better. And so that's why it is audience dependent. You have a lot of social media gurus out there saying, oh, you need to post 5 times a day. Well, that's insane. I mean, who has time for that, number one? And number two, I've seen scenarios where you actually take that advice and it has an adverse effect.
People follow the strategy. They've got all their content recorded. They're batching it. They're posting it. They're getting all these likes and followers. So the next obvious question is, well, how do I turn those into patients?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, even backing up a step from that, here would be my real secret to social media. This is the formula that I came up with about 8 years ago. My formula for virality is this: content plus distribution equals virality. And so we've been talking a lot about the content portion of this. You obviously have to have good content. You want your content packaged up so that it resonates with patients, so that they're going to stop scrolling and pay attention, so that you cut through that noise in the newsfeed. But the real secret sauce to this is distribution. And distribution is the art and the science of getting your content seen and shared at scale. So most people spend 99.9% of the attention on the content. The real answer is distribution, the marketing strategy to get that content out there. So I would just say, for anyone who's listening right now and you've been kind of hitting this plateau, like you're posting all this content until you're blue in the face and it feels like your engagement's plateaued, you're stuck, no matter how hard you try, you can't get more than like 800 views on something. That's not a content problem. A lot of people come to us and they're like, Jon, we're doing before and afters, we're doing beautiful transformation videos, all these things. I look at their content and their content's outstanding, but they think that something's wrong. Oh, I must be saying something wrong here. No, the real determining factor is that they only have 1,000 followers. And if you only have 1,000 followers, that's really your max distribution. So you could post 50 times a day. It wouldn't matter. 1,000 people is pretty much the maximum number of people you're reaching. So sure, you can get lucky, right? The algorithm can, all of a sudden you hit the viral lotto and now you reach 10 million people overnight. But that's not really a strategy. You're kind of crossing your fingers and rolling the dice. So what most people don't understand is there are actual strategies to get your content out to the masses. And it's all about taking your content and not limiting yourself to your 1,000 followers, figuring out how you're going to get it out outside of that audience, because that's when your real growth happens. That's when people experience explosive results on social media. So I just wanted to make that clear first before we even start talking about patient acquisition and converting them into consultations and appointments, because you need to get the content visible and get it seen first.
Can I also ask about, let's say we filmed a lovely video, we want to post it, we write a comment, and then, old school, we were told to do no more than 20 hashtags and make them relevant, blah, blah, blah. What are the parameters that you suggest for people to sort of make a post as algorithm sort of friendly as possible so that virality might sort of, work?
So I would say this, a couple important factors that we look at. The first thing is the hook. I spend 90% of the time and attention on a piece of content on those first 3 seconds. 90% of the effort goes there. 10% of effort and time and planning goes into the rest of the video. First 3 seconds are the most important. You need to be able to stop people in a split second and stop that scroll. And there are a lot of ways to do that. I think I came up with several dozen hooks at this point, ranging from a powerful question that you're going to ask to a moment of excitement and a reaction to a prop or a sound effect. I mean, a lot of different hooks that you can use. The next thing is obviously a prop. I tell people all the time, props equals profits. And when you have a prop, what you're doing is you're keeping that viewer on the edge of their seats and you're keeping them engaged. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen. And what that does is it increases your view through rate. And when you're keeping people's attention on the social media platforms, that instantly signals to the algorithm that this is a good piece of content. So those are a couple strategies where I've literally seen people add a prop and focus more attention on the first 3 seconds, and it's 10x'd their engagement, like pretty much instantly. So very simple and easy to do. In terms of what you're saying in the caption, how long the caption is, how many hashtags, those are, again, kind of what I would call roll the dice strategies. People who aren't as savvy with social media or who don't know what they're talking about or who went viral by accident and now they're trying to piece together why that happened, they might say, oh, it's because 7 hashtags is what I did and that's the magic formula. Quite frankly, it's a lot of BS. You know, there is no magic formula. If you're relying on the content, you are crossing your fingers and rolling the dice. You can go viral, 10 million views. You had the perfect post and the perfect number of hashtags and everything was right. And then you go and post that same exact thing tomorrow with the same hashtags and the same caption and the same piece of content. And you can't duplicate that effect again. And that's because of the fact that we're just relying on the content. So the content, I would say, is about 30% of the battle. The other 70% is distribution and getting that content seen, getting it out to the right people, getting it out to other audiences outside of your own. You're going to be a lot more successful, like 1,000 times more successful if you focus your attention there.
A few moments ago, you spoke about, well, you've only got 1,000 followers, then even if your content's amazing, that's the maximum number of people that are going to see it. So if you do only have 1,000 followers, how do you increase that? How do you sort of leverage? And I know you did speak about this in your presentation, so I'll let you explain it, but it was quite interesting in terms of, leveraging other people's accounts and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a simple strategy just to help everyone wrap their head around this concept of distribution, simplest strategy I can give is a collaboration, right? If, let's say you had an influencer with 1 million followers come into your practice, and now all of a sudden you did this beautiful makeover package for them and this procedure and the chemical peel and this and that. And now they're filming with you and they're documenting this journey. Well, when it comes time to post, who's going to get more views? Them with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, or you with 1,000? Obviously they will. Now, is there anything special about the content? Not necessarily. You can film with the same cell phone in the same office and say the same kind of thing. The only difference is the number of potential people we're exposing this content to is what changed. And I'm telling you, it's kind of counterintuitive. Most people, it takes them a minute to wrap their head around it. But I have like 67 different distribution strategies like that, where you're actually getting your content in the right hands. And that's what advertising is. People say advertising is about reaching the right person with the right ad at the right time. And that's what we're talking about here with social media, reaching that right prospective patient with the right piece of content at the right time. When you know how to do that at scale, the sky is the limit, pretty much.
Yeah, we've got to be careful about stuff like that in Australia again. We're not allowed
Yeah.
overt testimonials, especially for, S4 drug type treatments, but, skin, look into the rules.
I think, as you said, like in Australia, we have to be careful, but you can do things around education, the experience. You don't have to actually be, that
Overt.
explicit. Exactly. With what it is that you're actually doing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, you kind of mentioned time and batch cooking, but like for a busy practitioner sort of working in a clinic and, they're trying to juggle a million things, especially business owners, that's kind of the biggest thing. Do you recommend this is sort of diarized, like it's actually in the diary? Look, Monday morning, we're going to do our social media. And do you also recommend that people work with social media companies, or can this all be done, in-house on their own?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I definitely think this is something that should be scheduled, and you have to really make that commitment. Otherwise, it's easy to kick the can down the road. We put our clients in a position where they film one time, one day, or one weekend, and they have enough content for 3 or 4 months, and then they never have to touch a camera again. So when you're doing it right, you schedule that in pretty much once a quarter, and you come prepared, you're well rested, you're excited about the new insights that you want to share, and you get it done. And it makes it a lot easier. In terms of working with a company, I will say this. We used to run an agency where people invest $100,000 minimum to work with us, and we do everything for them. I think if you're going to go the agency route, you really have to know who you're dealing with, because of the fact that you're going to be so busy. So many clients come to us and they're like, John, we've spent hundreds of thousands on agencies. We have no idea what they're doing, if it's actually working. You're never going to check if everything is done for you. We actually have since kind of filled a new need where we have a coaching program now called Influencer Accelerator, where I actually train either the doctor themselves or their in-house staff on how to do everything in-house, so they don't have to spend $10,000 or $20,000 a month on an agency, and they actually know what's going on and can control the quality of what they're putting out there. And that's actually taken, like, I don't know, it's caught on like wildfire. We have like just a ton of doctors in the program who literally give up like their time because they want to be on those calls and they want to understand what's happening. So we put them in a position where they can do it all in-house. And I think that's the best way to do it. If you want it done right, you got to keep an eye on it, and you can't just throw money at an agency and hope that they are going to take it as seriously as you are.
Hope is not a strategy.
How many times have I heard you say that?
I know, but it's so true. Do you have any hacks or suggestions for AI that people can use? Because we use like things like Opus Clip and Descript and things like that. So it is allowing people to be able to do things that they would have, normally had to, outsource to other companies. So you've got any more advice on what to use and how to integrate it?
Yeah, we use it in a number of ways. I think there's a built-in tool that we use for scheduling posts called later.com. They have an AI feature that will help with the post caption part of it. There are times where we use it, times when we don't. Definitely writing your post captions. You can probably use AI for a lot of that to save time. I think in the concept phase of what am I going to post, what am I going to say, coming up with, if you're going to use the authority interview question strategy, like coming up with that endless list of questions, AI is great for that. AI can also give you the bullet points for how to answer that question and kind of feed the script into your mouth on a lot of that content. But I just caution people to not get obsessed with AI, because at the end of the day, it is still evolving, and it's easy to spend 5 hours messing around typing in endless questions versus just filming the video. So don't use it as a crutch, and don't let it take over your life.
Yeah, we should probably explain what Opus Clips is, because it's super useful, whether it's for social media or podcast. It's basically a program. You upload your videos to that, and then it kind of just chops them up. It somehow self-selects what it thinks is going to be the most trending or viral stuff. Some of it, the stuff that it chooses, is rubbish, but some of it's really good. It then sort of transcribes it, so you have a caption of sorts and a title, and then you can put some B-roll over it as well. So, if you're just sort of, nothing about editing, it makes it sort of pretty easy for you.
Made life for two idiots like us a little bit easier. A little bit easier.
Well, we don't do it. It's Andrea. Shout out to Andrea, our virtual PA in the Philippines. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to talk about case studies, and then we're going to talk about the really exciting competition that we're going to do with you and your company, John. So before we lead into the competition, can you give us like a real world example of someone that had no profile, had no expertise, and how you worked with them to sort of give them success and start bringing them new patients.
Yeah, I think a cool example that stands out, I mean, there have been so many at this point, but Dr. Adam Shiner in Tampa, Florida, he's an amazing guy. He's become a good friend over the years. And in about 3 months or so, using my strategies, he was able to gain 3.2 million views on his videos, had hundreds of leads coming in for his practice. He actually went so viral and the news caught wind of it. He ended up being interviewed on his local news in Tampa, Florida. So that was huge. And that also helps for more visibility, more credibility. You use that clip on your website. You can use it in ads. You can leverage that in a bunch of ways to convert more patients. And then on top of that, his first week out of the gate, turning on ads to actually convert patients. He booked two $10,000 treatments out of the gate with like a couple $100 in ad spend. So a couple $100 in the advertising world is nothing. And if you're able to turn that into $20,000, that's like a 37x return on ad spend, which is massively impressive. It doesn't matter what business or company you're dealing with. Those are huge numbers. And yeah, that's a case study that I'm really proud of. We've had some cool things happen. Shino Bay, recently we did a viral video for him. He ended up with over 5.8 million views in about a week. Saw impressive growth with that campaign. And we have so many. I mean, we've seen clients literally go from nothing to hundreds of millions of views, like 200 million views cross-platform in 60 days. I've seen that happen before, right? I've seen clients go from brand new social media accounts. Now they have 10 million followers across platforms. So a lot of really amazing case studies. But at the end of the day, I think the world we're living in, best known beats best. I tell people all the time, you can have the best practice, you can have the best techniques, the best procedures, the best offerings, but if no one knows you, they can't do business with you. And so it's really about getting your name out there, because your patients are doing this research, and the more downtime, the more expensive that procedure is, the more research they're going to do. And if they're comparing you to the practice down the street who has 50,000, 100,000 followers, and you only have 600, you're probably going to lose that to the competition. And so it's really about building up your social media, getting a baseline credibility and social proof there. So you check that box in the patient's mind, and you're going to convert a lot better because now they're looking at you as a celebrity.
Can you put some meat on the bones about the ads? We're talking about Instagram specifically, or also Google ads? Is it a whole campaign, or is it just on Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram ads. It's the same ad platform because Meta owns both. So yeah, Facebook and Instagram ads in that case.
Okay, so if you've got a really cool video of Shino doing his thing, whatever, and then what do you do in the background? Like, you obviously have to have is it a Facebook ad manager sort of an account so you can sort of put money in there?
Yeah, plain and simple. It's a Facebook ads manager account if you're going to run ads. Content and ads, two different sides of the coin. So your content is designed to deliver value to people. You don't want to be salesy. You don't want to say, call our office at the end of the content. You use your content tastefully just to add value and just to give. Your ads are what do the heavy lifting and what do the converting. And that's when you do want a call to action at the end. Now, the cool thing about ads is when you're running ads through Ads Manager, these aren't posts that appear on your feed. These are invisible ads that are reaching the exact right target audience that you select. So there are two campaigns in Ads Manager when it's time to convert and you want to book appointments and consultations, or even sell your skincare line, or if there is the ability to buy a consultation outright on your website. Two campaigns you should care about. Number one is a leads campaign. The other one is a sales campaign. If you're trying to convert and you want to be able to make money and drive patients those are the ones that matter. The rest, the engagement campaign, the awareness campaign, that's going to be a waste of time for this. What you want are people that go to your website, fill out a form, book an appointment, or buy something if you have something to sell that they can buy outright. And those campaigns are designed to do that.
Great.
Excellent. Right. Now, without further ado, let's discuss the amazing competition that we're going to be doing in collaboration with you, Jon, and your company, Viral Secrets. I know you're so confident of your strategies and how you can help anyone, even if they're someone with zero social media presence, and making them go viral. So explain what we're going to be doing for one lucky winner of our competition.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do is a $15,000 viral giveaway. Essentially, for us to actually run a campaign for your practice, it's $15,000 minimum at this point for us to put together a campaign. And I thought it'd be really cool, especially because this is a podcast, to make this tangible by making one of you go viral. So literally, we are going to pick someone who's listening to this right now, and we're going to orchestrate a campaign. I'll meet with you live on Zoom. I'm going to prep you. We're going to figure out your message and what you want to say. You'll then go out and film it. You'll send us the footage real quick. My team will edit the entire video and chop it up and make it look beautiful. And then we'll post it. And that's when you'll get to experience my distribution strategies as we actually make your video go viral. And then we're going to come back for, I believe, a second podcast interview, guys, where we'll share the results and talk about what happened.
That's very cool.
Yeah, very, very exciting.
Proof in the pudding, right?
So what do people need to do to enter, Jon?
Yeah, very simple. So for everyone, you'll go to viralsecrets.com. So viralsecrets.com/IA for Inside Aesthetics. And you'll book a call with our team. And so through that, if you're genuinely interested in social media, you want to grow your following, my team can talk to you about where you're at right now, what you're trying to do, what your challenges are, and see if we might be able to help you out in some way. And just for doing that, you jump on the phone with my team. Everyone's going to have that opportunity to get the free consult, and we're going to pick someone as our viral winner and actually make you go viral. You don't have to do business with us in order to win, and we're just going to make it pretty simple.
Amazing. So obviously that link will be at the bottom of our show notes. So you don't have to remember it if you're driving your car. It'll be there when you park. This competition will be ending November the 7th.
Right.
So you've got about 3 or 4 weeks to enter, guys. But, really take the opportunity. Like, if you don't know anything about social media, you've just been really struggling, this is your opportunity, I would say.
Awesome. So
why the hell aren't we doing this?
Oh, well, we're going to.
Can I apply, Jon? Can I do it as well?
This is super exciting. As I said, it's a question that comes up time and time again. How do I get more traction on social media? So as Jon said, listen to this episode, enter the competition. Good luck to anyone that's entering, and we're looking forward to showcasing the results. And, as you said, potentially coming back and talking about it on another episode. So, Jon, thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge. I know it's taking you a lot of time and sort of effort to acquire this knowledge. So thank you for your generosity.
That's great. I feel like we just scratched the surface there, but we'll get you back. We'll work out what worked for, for the person who you went go viral, and maybe, early next year or whenever we could do another episode, sort of going even deeper into Instagram tactics and what works in 2026.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jon. We'll speak soon.
Happy to help, guys. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that episode, guys. To stay up to date with our latest news and episodes, follow us on Instagram, and we're now on TikTok.
You can also now watch our full video episodes on YouTube and Spotify. So if you like what we do, please give us a like and subscribe. Please also consider joining our Patreon for invaluable business and injectable education. Get access to our global community of like-minded professionals, hints and tips videos, bonus podcast content, and more.
All of our social links, Patreon, and contact information are in the show notes below, and we'll see you in the next episode.